type in any questions. And at the end of the session, we will try our best to answer all of the questions that you are curious about. Joining me tonight, we have Dr. Renner, our principal, and Mr. Block, our vice principal, as well as Mr. Sugarman, who is helping us with some tech pieces this evening. So without further ado, I'm going to just share with you our agenda a little bit more and then turn it over to Dr. Renner.
And I'm actually going to step in real quick. We've made some adjustments here. So in terms of the asking questions and how we'll kind of moderate that, we are going to ask you to submit questions through a text message. So I'm going to give that number. We'll give that number kind of throughout the presentation as well. So that number is 513-334-7402. Again, if you have questions, go ahead and text those throughout the presentation, and we'll kind of moderate those as they come in, but that's 513-334-7402.
Okay, thank you all for your patience and a little bit of the change. Obviously, this is our first webinar doing a freshman parent night, so thank you for bearing with us. So tonight we're going to be covering, like I mentioned, some things that hopefully you'll feel better about by the time we're done. We're going to cover some COVID protocols and how we're going to keep everyone safe this year, discuss our phase and days and what that looks like, and us starting on a tier 2, and kind of those expectations, as well as our really great new building. We'll discuss some schedules and some resources. So I will turn it over to you, Dr. Renner.
Thank you and good evening. We appreciate you being with us here this evening. As Vicki mentioned, it's a little different from the way we thought it was going to be, but with the help of a few friends, we are going to have the opportunity to communicate with you this evening, share some of our plans for this week, and also answer any questions that you have. We are also recording this presentation, and we'll provide a link later so that other folks may have the opportunity to review it at their leisure. As Vicki said, we have been getting this plan together probably since last May or June. We knew that things were going to look a little different. We didn't know how different, but throw in COVID, throw in everything that's going on with the new construction and the project and getting students in into the building. We knew that there would be some flexibility, but the great news is that the building is ready. We had our ribbon cutting ceremony yesterday. It's still a little dusty, but it looks beautiful, and we can't wait for our students to get in here and see the learning environment we have in store for them. We had some of our upperclassmen, some of our seniors in with us today who are going to be leading the freshman orientation and new student orientation, kind of letting them see it. And it was just so great, so meaningful, look into their eyes as they kind of gazed around at all that was in store for them. And as I mentioned yesterday, we just asked that the students really enjoy it, that they take care of it, and that they make the most of it, because there really are so many opportunities for them, even under the current restrictions with the COVID, but so many opportunities for them to grow and just really enjoy being back together and really enjoying that learning process. Let me just go ahead and start off by reviewing some of our procedures and protocols with the COVID, just to hopefully reassure you that we have given this a great deal of thought, district-wide and building-wide, with starting with our superintendent, Brent Wise, who is kind of we call him the COVID commander, who is overseeing all this and works hand in hand with our local health authorities to make sure we have a great plan in place. For the first time ever, we will have a full-time health aide at the high school, Nikki Utt, who is a registered nurse. We have hired her to be at the high school all the time, so she is here to work with students, be a part of the, as we're taking temperatures and hand sanitizing and cleaning protocols, also working with teachers and answering their questions. Should be working directly with the students. We have a beautiful new nurse's office, which can accommodate folks, and just really help us with those protocols. So her first day was with us was today, and she will be up and running starting on Wednesday. Also, our class sizes are down a bit. We have about 50 students who have, their families have made the determination that they will be online warriors. So rather than 500 plus students, we'll be closer to 450 students, which will again kind of make our hallways and classrooms fewer people. De-densify, I think, is the term that is used for that. Staff will be on site before 8 a.m. And as students come into the building will be open every day at 8:10 a.m. Once the students have come into the building and gone through the process of the scanner for their temperature to be read and making a note of that, then going directly to the hand sanitizing station, then the students will go directly to their first period classroom, where the teacher will be there to greet them, but also make sure that that students are following the appropriate protocols once they are in the classroom. We do know that with our later start this year, remember we're starting at 8:30 and we're wrapping up our day at 3:30. It was causing a few problems for some of our families, so we will have a staff member on duty every day by 7:45 a.m. and the event that some of our students need to be dropped off early. But we're really hoping that the majority of our students will get here by 8:10 a.m. What they're going to learn, and the beauty of the phase-in days and really the Tier 2 process, is the opportunity to train ourselves and also train our students that the days of running down the steps from the parking lots at 8:29 in order to get the first period class, that's not going to work anymore because of the protocols coming in, getting scanned, getting checked, and getting off to class. So lots of learning for not only our staff, but for our students as well. As far as the entrances to the building, we have our main entrance, which is pretty much in the same position it was in the old building. But for our main entrance, we're going to ask that the seniors who park in the western parking lot, as well as students who walk to school, drop-offs, students who ride the bus will come in that main entrance. I would suggest that people who are planning to drop off their students, you might want to consider dropping them off down at the public library in the morning, going through that turnaround, only because it can get kind of congested up here with the bus traffic and other people dropping off. It's just a short walk up the sidewalk, so that might be a good habit to get into. Once the students enter the building, there will be 2 high school staff members there to greet them. I will be out there, the assistant principal, Mr. Block, will be out there, and we'll just make sure that the students are maintaining the appropriate distance coming in, be greeted by the staff members, again, get the temperature taken and walk to the rooms. Students who, typically sophomores and juniors, students who are riding with them in parking in the lots that are up on the hill, those new lots that were in place last year, we're going to ask that those students enter the doors down by the Art Plaza, where there will also be a temperature scanner, a dispenser to clean their hands, as well as 2 staff members to greet them there. And then again, heading right to the classroom. In addition to kind of staggering the arrival times in the morning, we're also staggering the times in between class periods. What we're going to do is kind of each teacher will release students about 5 at a time, again, to kind of make sure there's not too many students in the hallway all at one time. As they get to their next class, the students will work with the teachers will work with the students to kind of figure out who needs to go the greatest distance. And the beauty is now with our new facility, all the classes, all the academic classes are all in the same approximate area anyway. So they will be able to get right to the classroom. We've got very wide hallways, stairwells, and the students will be instructed to keep their appropriate social distance, also staying on the right side of the hallways, the right side of the stairwells, and markers on the carpet on the flooring to remind the students about that distancing. In addition, we'll have high school staff as well as teachers at their doors to make sure that they are getting to the correct location. Okay, moving along with those, also we'll be staggering for lunch. Our upperclassmen, juniors and seniors, will have the opportunity when they file the paperwork to be able to go out for lunch. And then our juniors and seniors will have plenty of room in the hub area, in the library, on the new steps. We have areas up. We've been working with our architects, and there will be plenty of room for our 9th and 10th graders to have lunch. There's also an outside patio for eating. And then on days when we can, we'll also go out onto the turf again to spread out, enjoy lunch, maintaining the 6-foot distance during those during the lunch times. So again, everybody can have a nice break, but that it will be a safe break while they're out and about. And then at the end of the day, we will also have a staggered dismissal to make sure, again, that the students aren't bunching up and that they're able to leave the building and get home safely. As I go down my list now, we've talked about the lunch. We're also going to be having mask breaks during the course of a lesson. So once the teachers get up in front of the class and give instruction, recall there will not be any small group work. As collaborative work will be more virtual. So during the course of a lesson, once the students are all sitting, working independently, there will be an opportunity for a 5-minute mask break where the students can take off their mask at that time, just kind of get that break that all of us need during the course of the day. And then after that 5-minute period of time, put the mask back on and then move on with the lesson. Upon entering each classroom, students are going to be required to wipe down the tabletops. So they've got the cleaning supplies, they have the absorbent paper towels, they'll wipe down the high touch areas, they'll wipe down the tabletops, and then they will go over and sanitize their hands after they have finished doing that. Also, students will not be permitted to share equipment during the lesson. So our teachers, particularly in sciences and other areas where there is sharing, traditionally sharing equipment, have worked it out so the students will not need to share the equipment during the class time. Things will be wiped down in between classes for the next group of students to come in. The drinking fountains will be shut down to comply with the requirements of COVID, but each student will be permitted to have a water bottle, and we have lots and lots of water bottle stations, filling stations throughout the building where students will be able to fill their water bottle and stay hydrated through the course of the day. And of course, also food will not be permitted in the classrooms as well. As far as instruction, teachers have been instructed to stay in front of the classroom. There's kind of this teaching box that separates them from the first row of students. So they will stay there. They will do their instruction with the understanding and the goal being is that they will not be in close proximity for an extended period of time with the students during the course of a day. There'll be times where they can go and work independently, ask questions, but again, not for a sustained period of time to make sure that no one would need to go into quarantine or anything like that if someone were to get sick. Seating charts for the classrooms will be mandatory. So in the event of contact tracing, we will be able to follow up with that. Of course, keeping in mind the tier 2, the blue and the gold days are also, as they assign seats, making sure that they are every other seat to de-densify the classrooms when the students are in there. So, and then the teachers will be asked to upload those for substitute teachers. And then, like I said, in the event we have to do contact tracing, we'll be able to pull those up right away and see and determine which students or which families we may need to notify. Guest visitors will not be permitted beyond the administrative and counseling areas during the school day. I would just ask that to the best of your ability, we're just trying to decrease the amount of people in the building for obvious reasons, to limit the drop-offs. I know that people are going to be getting in habits that they haven't, packing lunches. People really, many people haven't had to do that for 5 months or so. just asking that we keep those to an absolute minimum, but that when guests are or visitors are in the building, that you're wearing a mask at all times. So if you were to come in, if we were to have a meeting with a counselor or someone on the administrative team, we would just ask that you come in. We would do a temperature check at that point in time. You'd have your mask, and then we would stay in this area. Unfortunately, we won't be giving tours to guests and visitors for some time, just to make sure that we keep our students and staff as healthy as possible. The phase and days, like I said, are going to be very important for COVID training, and even with the phase and days after the phase and days, going with tier 2 people, they want to do the right thing. I truly believe they want to do the right thing. They're going to, want to follow the rules, but people forget. I forget, students forget. So it's just a great opportunity for all of us to kind of get indoctrinated, find out what the protocols are, so that we don't make mistakes, and so that we do our best to keep one another safe. Okay, and we're going to let Mr. Block talk about what to expect in tier 2.
Okay. Hi, I am Mr. Block. I'm the assistant principal here at the high school. I just wanted to remind you again, you might see it on the screen now, but the phone number to text any questions as we're going through the presentation is that 513-334-7402. So if you have any questions as we're going through this, just text us and we'll moderate that. So as Dr. mentioned, after our phase-in days, August 31st will be our first full day of regular classes and our 7-period day that does begin at 8:30, and we are, as Dr. Enner mentioned, that encouraging students to get here with time to go through the temperature scanning and the hand sanitizing before going to their first bell class. So first bell will begin at 8:30, and as you can see, we'll also be dismissing at 3:30, and we are going to try to stagger that so that the students can get out. That students that need to get rides or go to sporting events and things like that at that initial wave of dismissing from classes towards the end of the day. We have separated, as you all have seen, the school into a blue group and a gold group, and we're going to be following the rotation you can kind of see on your screen there. So on August 31st, we will see in person the blue group, and the gold group will be remoting into their classes. So that first week, the blue group we'll see on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then the blue group will go and be remote on Thursday and Friday. And the gold group will be opposite, obviously, and they'll go remote Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they'll be here. So the first time that the gold group will all be together will be Thursday, September 3rd. And then you can see that rotation. So Wednesday is kind of the day that you just kind of need to pay attention to. Is your Wednesday a blue in-person day or a blue remote day, or vice versa, gold remote or gold in-person? It is important to note that on those remote learning days, it's not that you're not doing anything, and the expectation is that on those days that you are remote, that you're zooming into your classroom at the start of each class period. The teachers are going through getting together those Zoom sessions, and they'll be relaying that information to their students on the phase-in days, and obviously be communicating that out through Schoology as well. So that's the way we're going to be rotating it. We don't make adjustments. So if there's a holiday, so you can see that, for example, Monday, September 7th is a holiday. We don't have school, but so we're not going to make a change to the rotation. It'll just be still with the to continue on with the in-person and remote days, as you can kind of see on that schedule.
And I would also just say to that, Trevor, before we go on, the intent is not that the students will be on their computer the whole time, 8:30 to 3:30. For some of that, the teachers will be given instructions specifically to the class, but also to the online students, and then they would have the opportunity to just kind of shut that down and work on their own a bit. So having been on Zoom seems like nonstop since March. The intention is to give our students breaks. They'll get the instruction, but then they'll have the opportunity to work independently or in virtual small groups during that time.
Okay. Thank you both for sharing information about our building and our protocols this year. The beauty about this year is it's really an adventure for all of us. Everyone is in the same boat, aside from a few leaders today because they're helping us at orientation, seeing the building. No one else has seen it. So upperclassmen are in the same boat as freshmen and sophomores, and I can tell you the space is amazing. Freshmen, you're going to be so excited to see this, and new students. And so everyone's going to be in the same boat trying to find their classes. So I'm going to encourage you to just ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. Grab a teacher, grab a staff, grab a counselor, grab an upperclassman, and just say like, hey, can you help me figure out where this English class is? So there is no harm in asking people for help. For parents and guardians, as you know, this has been, 6 months of being out of school. And so the transition back into any school building is going to be an adjustment, but especially going into high school. Transitioning in takes some time, and we are going to help your students with that. We purposely designed some phase-in days to be able to kind of like ease students back in so that they can feel a little more settled and not overwhelmed as they come back in. So, parents just kind of remember in the back of your head, even though they were students at the junior high or at another high school in a different state, this is a new building. And so just like if you were to take a new job, but it's the same kind of job, that transition and to a new place is different. And so it takes some time and some patience to figure things out. Nervousness is kind of something that a lot of people have just experienced through this whole, time that we've all been quarantined. And it can be unsettling. Your teen may assure you, I'm fine, I got this, I don't need any help. But parental involvement is essential for a smooth transition, as you probably know, especially for a year like this. So make sure that you help your student kind of think about, okay, what do you need for tomorrow? Water, lunch, whatever it is, just kind of think through the checklist so that they feel like they're not running around at the last minute and rushing into school and it's a new parking lot and a new route, that they kind of get in time so that they can just kind of feel comfortable as they come in. Your freshmen, are at the bottom of the food chain now. So they were, the higher ups when they were 8th grade. Now they're kind of starting back over with freshmen. But I can tell you we have some amazing upper classmen and the leaders that are going to be working with your students during our phase-in days. So hopefully all of that will help. The other thing, just in terms of transitioning, would be to think about getting involved in a sport or a club. We have a wide variety of clubs. We will still be offering clubs this year. They're just going to look a little bit different. So some might be virtual, some might be smaller groups, and we will, as we get started on the school year, we will tell students how exactly that will be working so we can still have our clubs. The other piece is that we know the importance of social emotional learning, and we've talked to our students about that. Teachers understand that right now it's really important that we are taking the time to nurture students' social and emotional development in their environment. We know that students, really need to be able to use their emotion regulation skills and be in an environment where they feel physically, emotionally safe, connected, included, and supported. And teachers understand that they need to give special attention to students' social and emotional development, especially this year, because let's be honest, students and adults have experienced extraordinary stress and trauma during all of this isolating and quarantine. So teachers are going to be taking things, slow. And again, that's why we have these phase-in days. So where do I go and expectations? So just wanted to talk, this is specifically about our phase-in days. So the whole morning during our phase-in day is going to be spent in advisory for an orientation at all grade levels. The afternoon is going to be spent on a mini bell schedule. Upper class, so okay, I'll get in more details in that in a second. How am I going to find my classroom? That's probably the first and foremost worry on a lot of freshmen mind, because typically we would offer a day for students to come in and follow their schedules. That's not the case right now. So we will have upper class leaders and teachers outside to greet your students. They will be holding up a sign with the advisory teacher's name. So if someone has Mr. Vonix, they should look for the sign with Mr. Vonix, and teachers and leaders will help them find that person. And then that leader will take Mr. Vonix's students to his classroom so that everyone can make sure that they find their advisory teacher. We will help with that. There will be all kinds of people outside to make sure that your student can find their advisory, because that is where they are going day one. So please ask your student to look at their schedule, look for their advisory teacher's name so that they know where to go when they get off the bus, get dropped off, or walk to school. Before student leaders take your student to the classroom, they will obviously get the temperature check and sanitize their hands, and then they will be on their merry way. Specifically in the morning, we are going to be covering a lot of different things. Like we said, brand new building for everyone. Everyone's been gone for a long time. So we just want to take the time with each grade level to make them feel welcomed and comfortable transitioning back in. So the morning, to remind you, we have divided the whole population into thirds. So it's a pretty small group. Some advisories only have like 5 students. Others might have, 8, maybe 9, but they're really tiny. So it'd be really nice for your student to be able to get to know their teacher all during the morning, along with their upperclassman leader. So in the morning, they're going to be doing some getting to know you activities. We're going to cover COVID protocols with students. 9th and 10th graders will receive their new iPads and their Apple Pencil. All new 11th and 12th graders, you can bring your own device, or you will receive a rental device if you signed up for that. We're going to be spending some time learning about the iPad, Schoology, making sure students understand how to check their Gmail. And then they're going to be going through some videos. They will take part in a virtual club fair, along with some other things. We just want to make sure that they understand in terms of their device and getting familiar with the building. Our district overall has been working really hard. We have a global cultural committee, as you probably have read, and have been working hard on making sure that we have and create an inclusive environment for all of our students. So we're going to be going over some, language and, what is acceptable, and how we can have discussions with students about global and cultural topics. Then we also are going to be doing a little mental health check-in, kind of how are students doing, kind of gauge where things are. And then lastly, probably the most important for students, is touring the building and mapping out their schedule. In the afternoon, students will have lunch. They can pack or buy. Dr. Renner already went over. They can eat in our new beautiful hub in the media center, or in the outside terrace. And in the afternoon, they'll be following a 20-minute bell schedule. And we have put plenty of passing time in during phase-in days. We have 7 minutes. And the idea is to not overwhelm students, but just to help them, meet their teachers, get a name with a face, and maybe go over a syllabus. And then that's it for the day. So that's kind of what our phase-in days are consisted of. In terms of a schedule, you can now find our new daily bell schedule on the Marymount website under the high school page on the left. So you can download that. Most days you'll see a regular schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We have something called Warrior Bell that I'll talk about in a minute on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but that's not going to be starting until towards the end of September. Schedules and advisory. So by now your students should be able to have access their schedule on Dashboard. If they have had trouble accessing that, feel free to email me, and we will make sure to get your student a schedule. We will also be handing out hard copies of their schedule on day 1 in advisory. Just to help your students understand, the schedule that they downloaded online on the dashboard only showed semester 1 schedules. When they get to advisory, they will get their full year schedule so that they can see what their electives are. Just to help you understand how to read this schedule, if we were to go down and look, I wish I had a pointer, sorry. If we were to look at Bell 2, you can see at Bell 2, this student here has health class. And if you look all the way across to the right under term, you can see they have health for first semester. Second bell, second semester, you can see it says SH for study hall. So this student has second bell, they have health first semester, and then a study hall second semester. So we have 7 bells in a day. Your students should have 7 classes in there. And just about in the middle of their schedule, you will see it says advisory. And so for this student, you can see if you look across to the right under teacher's name for advisory, this student has Jane Spooner, and that is who they would be looking to find on day 1 phase-in. And again, any questions about schedules, feel free to reach out. For students that are on an accommodation plan, like a 504, we have something called the Office of Learning Assistance. This is modeled after a college campus. A lot of college campuses and their Office of Learning Disability Services have something like this. We have 2 teachers' aides in there, and they will work with students on making sure they understand how to access their accommodations. Teachers by day 1 will have reviewed all students' accommodation plans if they are on one, and teachers will know what those are and what those mean. If you have any specific questions, please have your student see me. But just know if your student is on a plan, they will have one of these teachers' aides call them down within the first couple weeks to the Office of Learning Assistance so they can explain how accommodations work. Counseling department. So let's see, let me make sure. Oh, I didn't cover advisory. I'll go back to that. Counseling services, just to let you know, there are 3 counselors. So myself, I have 9th and 10th graders. Pam Tackett has 11th and 12th graders, and she is part-time. And then Amanda Leschek has 11th and 12th graders, and she's also our college and career director. In addition to our department, we also do have a full-time child-focused therapist. His name is Adhan Leendo, and you can see a counselor for a referral. If that's something that your student just needs some extra support, we are happy to refer to him, and he does accept insurance. Let's see. So in terms of coming to see a counselor, a student is, if they are looking to see me as a 9th or 10th grader, they can send me an email. Hey, Mrs. Zaya, can I check in with you? And then I'll try to send for them during a study hall or elective. If I need to see them, I will send a pass to them. Or if they're really struggling during a study hall or need to see me, they can just come on up to the counseling department and ask if I'm free. And certainly we know that it's a different year. If someone is having a hard time in class and they need some sort of break to regroup, they can certainly let the teacher know and come and see me if there's something that they're really struggling with. Throughout the year, I will also be checking in on your students and kind of trying to meet with all of them individually just to see if there's anything I can do to help support them. The other thing I wanted to just speak to on resources that I forgot about when we were on schedules is that we have something called Warrior Bell. So that goes back to the Bell schedule here. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you'll see in the second column under Warrior Days, we have Warrior Time. So it's about right after lunch. So we have about a half-hour time where students go back to their advisory class and they spend the time there either getting work done, or it might be a time that they can make an appointment to see another teacher that they might need some extra help with. It might be a time where we have some sort of class meeting or some kind of counseling lesson. And more information will be coming to your students as we get underway here in the next couple weeks once we get ready to implement that. We also, before the Warrior Bell, you might note that we still have the mindfulness. So for those of you that are coming from the junior high, we have 3 minutes of mindfulness every day that we will take the time to kind of pause, turn on some music, just, take some deep breaths. It might be a mask break in that advisory teacher's room, just to be able to kind of, regroup. So I think that's all the information I have. I know webinars are kind of hard. We gave you a lot of information. So we're going to turn it over right now for any questions that you have and see what sort of things we can answer and help out with.
Hello, thank you, Jim, Vicki, and Trevor. You covered a lot, so there's not many questions. So you did a great job on that. And I know we'll repeat a few things as we go, but the first question that we were posed is, what will the average class sizes be? We know that will change depending on what tier we're in, but throughout this, what do we anticipate an average class size to be?
If I were to take a look at an average class size, I would say somewhere between 18 and 20. I can't think of, we don't have any class sizes more than, I think our biggest class might have been 22, 23, but even that may have changed with our online warriors. So I would say less than 20.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And again, the phone number is attached to my name there. If you still do have any questions, it's 513-334-7402. The second question on our list is, drop off at the main office, will there be one way or two? I know you're all used to one way entrances here at the high school. So I don't know if Mr. Black, you want to jump in, but is the drop off at the main office, is there going to be one way out or multiple ways to get out?
Yeah, so we will dismiss out of multiple doors just like we enter multiple doors. So students will be exiting out of and through the art plaza just as they enter into enter from the art plaza. So students that are going up to the upper parking lot, the junior parking lot, towards the back of the building, they would be exiting through the art plaza doors, and the seniors and anyone that is getting picked up from a parent would exit through the main entrance. Is that the question that you're
Yep,
asking?
you got that. Yep. Excellent. So the next one kind of goes to phase-in days. I know we answered some of these, but just for some clarification, but are the phase-in days the same time as a regular school day? So as far as when do the students report, how long are they expected to be at school, and when will they be released?
Students should arrive just as any other typical day by starting at 8:10 a.m. They should, we will start the day at 8:30 and we will dismiss at 3:30. So the length of the day, the arrival time will all be the same.
And I'll add to that as well that Vicki and Zayed went through kind of what that day will be structured. So you will see that, you know, students should obviously come prepared to be in class, but in terms of like being assigned work and homework and all that, we are really phasing into that as well. So they should, you know, come prepared with something to write with and their device, because obviously you saw that we'll be working through that once we distribute iPads and things like that as part of that phase-in day. So just kind of be prepared for that as well.
And as I mentioned in the email, they also, you know, bring the water bottle and bring the headphones as well, because they'll be doing some activities that they'll need headphones.
Excellent. Just to clarify, when they get dropped off at school, currently there is only one exit, the normal entrance that we have. Eventually we will reopen the entrance to Worcester Pike, the new entrance, but at this time that will not be open.
Correct. It's anticipated that that will be open in January.
Excellent. So there was some clarification on that one. Mrs. Zaya, the next two are for you. Online Warriors, when will they be receiving their schedules?
Mr. Block, do you have the answer on that?
Yes, we are anticipating releasing those schedules sometime tomorrow morning. We're going for about 9 o'clock, but you know, we have to work through a couple more things, but we are anticipating that tomorrow morning to be released.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And I know you just covered advisory. If the lady or gentleman who answered that question has any follow-up questions, I know that came in early on. So if you have more questions about advisory, but I think Mrs. Zaya kind of covered what that is. So if you need more clarification, please retext the number and we'll get you that. Just as a side note, if you have COVID specific questions, and we've received one or two tonight, please feel free to go to the Restart website on the Restart page on our Marymount City Schools website. All of our COVID questions are going to be answered by our COVID commander, Brent Wise. So if you could go to the website and do those, he will give you the most up-to-date current news. They're sitting in meetings constantly, so they are providing that information. So we'd like to get you the most current information possible. Where is the best spot to pick up freshmen after school? So is there a better spot to pick them up than others? But obviously most of our freshmen, well, all of them, shouldn't be driving. So where's the best spot to pick them up?
I would advocate for the public library as much as possible. I would just ask that you not get there too early because of their patrons. But if you can get down there at, you know, by 3:30 and ask your student to meet you down there, that's usually the quickest in and out. If you end up coming up this way, getting turned around and buses and traffic, you might find it to be a challenge. So that is, I think, your quickest in and out.
Excellent. Only a few more left. Lockers. We have questions. Will students be walking around with book bags, or are they going to be able to put their bags in between lockers and go to those in between classes?
We don't, because of the COVID, we do not have student lockers this year. Now, the athletic teams, they have their lockers, and they can come in and put their equipment and be able to put those things away. But the students will be asked to bring their materials with them from class to class. Remembering that with the device, with the fact that most of our classes have classroom sets of books, there's not, 6 or 7 textbooks that they will be lugging around throughout the day, but they would be asked to have their materials in their backpack that they would need for the day.
Excellent. Will 9th and 10th graders be permitted to leave campus and go home for lunch, such as the juniors and seniors?
That is not the current plan, even though it is something that we're going to look at. I think what I would say is we have a plan in place, and we think it's a pretty good plan. But like all plans, they need to be tweaked and looked at and modified as we go along. So, we believe that we have enough space that we're going to be able to accommodate that. So that's kind of how we're going to start. But we haven't ruled it out. We really haven't ruled anything out, but we're going to start with the 9th and 10th graders remaining on campus.
Excellent. In the past, students have been able to leave their sports bags. I know you just kind of addressed that, but some of the sports teams that don't have locker rooms here, I know in the past they've dropped them off kind of in the main office or Mr. Nurl's found a spot. Will there be a spot again that students can leave their bags so they're not dragging around all of their sports equipment throughout the day?
Mr. Block?
At this time, we are designating the tower, under the tower, as a spot to have bags dropped off and stored throughout the day. Those teams that do have locker rooms, obviously, that we would encourage them to take them back towards the locker rooms and store them there during the day. But if your team does not have a locker room, and we're at this point, again, kind of like Dr. Renner said, plans change and we'll modify as needed. But right now, under the tower is kind of is where we're saying it's right in the main entrance, right by the main entrance. So it'll be easy to see and find, and that's where we're going to ask our athletes that have bags to drop those off there.
And I know in the past, Mr. Vonix, for instance, for boys soccer, has been very willing to house some of those, bags in his classroom and things like that. So you may want to check with your child's coach if they're located in the high school, and they may have a better answer for that as well. As far as musical instruments such as band, will they be able to leave their instruments down in the band room if they're not using them throughout the week?
Yes, they'll be able to put those there.
That was a resounding yes. I like that one. Last question I have, unless we get more in here soon. Students that have cell phones, as we know they will, do they just have to turn them off and leave them in their bag since there's no lockers, or what's the plan with cell phones?
The plan is that at the direction of the teachers, they may or may not be able to use their cell phone at a different time. With what we've got going on in the classrooms, some of them may be designed that they're kind of butting up with the student that's not at school on any given day. So I would just recommend strongly to the student that they listen to the directions of their teacher on cell phones. Some of the teachers will give extra credit points if they come in, turn off their cell phone, and stick it in a different location. The main thing, though, is to follow the direction, not have the cell phones out when it is not appropriate to do so.
And we got one more question that just came in, and I had it on my list and I skipped over it, so I apologize to that parent. Will online warriors be in their advisory? I know they're Zooming into all their classes. If they're an online warrior, would they be able to be in an advisory group?
That's a good question. We'll probably need to talk about that. So we'll get back to you on that.
All right, we got another one as we were answering that one. I'm reading it one here for a second. So I will answer this one as the newly appointed coordinator of technology, but it says, will the teachers be able to see the students who are at home on Zoom, and will the students be able to communicate with their teacher during that time? All of our teachers will have a dedicated device to Zoom with, that the camera will be facing them and the board. We've asked our teachers to share all of their presentations and videos and things they're going to be doing in the classroom with the students through Schoology that they can access. But yes, the students will be able to see them, and the chat feature will be on during all of those Zoom chats. So the students will be able to interact. We've also encouraged our teachers to get creative, use breakout rooms so they can communicate with one another and go through that kind of stuff. So yes, while the students are at home Zooming in, they will have access to see and work with the teacher. And I believe that's all the questions we have that have come through. Again, if you have any COVID specific questions, please feel free to go to the website and the restart page that's on that website, and there's a opportunity there for you to submit questions. So,
And Brian, we did record this session, and I know some people experienced some technical difficulties. So where will they be able to go to get the link if they need to look at certain parts of our presentation this evening?
anyone who's currently here and has had any technical difficulties, it's looked great from our end the entire time. You can email Mrs. Zay and I will get her the link to this Zoom chat. And obviously the people that are not, we will get this updated and probably sent out to the freshman class or located on the website. We'll work through that first thing in the morning to determine how to get this out to parents.
Okay, Mrs. Zay, are you going to wrap it up for us?
Yeah. So again, thank you all, parents and students and guardians that are on this call with us. Again, I know it was just kind of weird to maybe do it webinar style, but we are so looking forward to seeing all of you students later this week. It has been way too long, and we are really looking forward to seeing everyone's faces. So any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm here to support your students. I'm happy and looking forward to meeting our new freshmen and new students. And have a great night. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.